And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in our crazy world. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you would like to join us for the live portion, if you're listening somewhere else, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And so away we go. I have two felines in the room, and one of them is being really ornery. That's Monkey. What have you done? So I don't know if I'm still there. Something happened with the video. Because I can see the audio going. But I don't see any video, and I don't know what happened. Let me try to figure this out, because Monkey was pulling on the cables, and now I'm in trouble. Try to figure it out. It says to enable camera, press V, and I'm pressing V, and nothing is happening. So I don't know what happened. It's not connecting. Well, that's just terribly inconvenient. Not sure what to do here. Not sure what to do here because I'm audio only. Audio only. Something went wrong and the camera is out. I don't know what the problem could be. And I would hate to have to jump back in all over again here. Am I back up? Oh, hey, I made it. There we go. There we go. All right, everybody. Now we can go ahead and get through the greeting process. Well, that ate up 2 minutes. Here I am. Something went wrong, and now it's sorted out, and it's Monkey's fault. Monkey did it. He's pulling on the cables back there, and something got disconnected, and Restream got weird about it. But here we go. I see Monkey is here, or Helter is here. Dragon is here. League is here. Brian is here. Tuck. And I have Monkey, what's left of him here. Poor Monkey has been serviced this weekend. I got TNRs going this weekend. And as you can see, they chopped his ear, which I asked to avoid that. I asked if we could avoid that whole process, at least with the kittens, because, you know, if I wanted to try to get any of them adopted, it helps if they're not butchered. And, oh, I know, buddy. Look what they did to his ear. I don't know if you can see that. Poor thing. And he's scared to death, and he smells like newspapers. And I'm like, where the hell anybody find newspaper? But he smells like newspaper, and he's like super clingy now and being weird as we catch up. I see Monkey has joined us as well as Cruising. Says finally got an hour free at the right time. Glad you could make it. And I'm going to be dealing with a lot of this because he's very upset. Like I said, I did a bunch of TNRs. I'm going to do a whole video on the subject. And yeah, it wasn't cheap, but it's the cheapest I could find. So I got some assistance with it. I never got a chance to put up a GoFundMe to try to recoup any of that. But and Puck says malpractice. Yeah, I know. Well, there's not much you can do about it. There's not much you can do about it. Plus, they're in the practice of chopping the end off the ear, tipping the ear there. Now you can really see it on the bottom of the screen. But it is what it is. I got it all done. He is super clingy now because he's probably scared to death. And Tuck says they don't seem to understand not every cat needs to be tipped. I mean, I could still get a few of them adopted if I had to, the small ones. But it just looks better if the cat's intact. But yeah, they're all. I got 11 out of 12 fixed and vaccinated. And you have no choice about the vaccinations either, or else they won't do it. But as we get ready to jump off into the actual news, like I said, I'm going to do a whole separate video on that. I'll put it up here, and I'll put it up on the cat channel as well, which is at. I'm going to put that on here at. Don't step on the keyboard. Okay, give me a break. At Stray Cat Sanctuary 1945. Honey, give me my arm. God, you're just being a handful, aren't you? What are you doing? I totally understand because he's probably scared to death after what he went through. I'll put it up there, and I may still do a GoFundMe to recoup some of whatever, but yeah. On with the regular news here. We can get back to that in a little bit. Associated Press article coming up. This is happening. Hundreds of ballots destroyed after fires are set in ballot drop boxes in Oregon and Washington. Okay, here we go. And you can see where flame coming out of the mouth of the drop box. All the more reason not to use a drop box if you're going to vote. So here we go. Authorities were investigating Monday after early morning fires were set in ballot drop boxes in Portland, Oregon, and in nearby Vancouver, Washington, where hundreds of ballots were destroyed. The Portland Police Bureau reported that officers and firefighters responded to a fire in one ballot box drop at about 3:30 a.m. and determined an incendiary device had been placed inside. Somebody probably threw a flare in there. I mean, actually, probably call anything an incendiary device if it's on fire. Multnomah County Elections Director Tim Scott said a fire suppressant inside the drop box protected nearly all the ballots. Oh, so they anticipate that. That's interesting. Only 3 were damaged, and his office planned to contact those voters to help them obtain replacement ballots. How can you contact the voters of people who put a ballot in the ballot box if their ballot was destroyed? How do you know who those alleged 3 people are in order to contact them? That's interesting. A few hours later, across the Columbia River in Vancouver, television crews captured footage of smoke pouring out of a ballot box at a transit center. Vancouver is in Washington's 3rd congressional district, the site of what is expected to be one of the closest U.S. House races in the country between first-term Representative Marie Gluesenkamp, Perez, and Republican challenger Joe Kent. Clark County Auditor. These aren't even for the presidential race. This is local garbage. Clark County Auditor Greg Kimsey in Vancouver told the Associated Press the ballot drop box at the Fishers Landing Transit Center also had a fire suppression system inside, but for some reason it wasn't effective. Responders pulled a burning pile of ballots from inside the box, and Kimsey said hundreds were lost. And it's heartbreaking because it's an attack on our democracy. That is a quote, by the way. I'm not just being smart. Okay? Puck says, let that be a lesson to you. Vote in person. And Rodney says, I suspect Democrats' fortification this time around will be 10 times the scale of 2020. I know. Harris might get like 400 million votes. I had a special interest for you last week, Rodney. I don't know if you saw Friday's broadcast, because I had a story on New Zealand, which is one of only 2 countries, by the way, where prescription drug medication is legal to be advertised on television. Every other country, it's illegal. New Zealand and the United States, and that's it. Dragon says this kind of thing is what you expect in a place like Nicaragua. Puck says they're just saying that Democrat poll workers will replace the ballots. And Helter says the cheating has begun. Maybe so, but it's already going on, folks. It's already going on. But while we're on the subject, I know those ballots were not necessarily for the presidential election, but since we're on the subject of voting, we may as well go to the presidential election and watch Kamala Harris getting heckled. Fox News article, Harris heckled a Pennsylvania church, says voting for her fulfills God's expectation for us to help him. She had the nerve to say that. She had the nerve, the gall to make that suggestion. I don't know what's going on with that. Video will play after ad. Vice President Harris was interrupted by a heckler while she was speaking in a Pennsylvania church on Sunday, meant to highlight her faith in the battleground state 9 days before Election Day. From the lectern at the Church of Christian Compassion in West Philadelphia, Harris was referencing the biblical story of the Apostle Paul. When someone began shouting, Harris stopped speaking and clapped as the church band sounded music to drown out the heckler, who was not captured on event cameras. Quote, "This is why we fight for democracy," Harris repeated as the heckler was escorted out. "Every voice is important," she said, clapping. "Every voice is important." And I think there's a really important lesson here. There's a couple. The reason why she was heckled and the reason why the crowd, when he heckled her, started to jeer, okay, is because a couple of days earlier, when she was in front of another crowd, she made fun of someone in the crowd who yelled out, "Jesus is Lord." You might remember this. And she told that person to applause from the bobbleheads in the audience, "You're at the wrong rally. You need to be at the smaller rally around the corner." That's what she told him. And now here's the backlash, because now she's in a church talking about God, and they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. She's already made her position clear. And there's something else to be noted here.
I do believe Paul's message holds great urgency. As a nation, we face real challenges. We carry real...
You can hear people shouting, right? And then the music comes up, okay?
We carry... That's why we fight for our democracy. That's why we fight for democracy. Every voice is important. Every voice is important.
All right, now the crowd's getting whipped up because of what's going on. And they're shouting. They're not applauding her. She says, "This is why we fight for our democracy, and every voice is important," while the music drowns those voices out. And the people who were trying to be heard are being dragged out of the church by security. This is why we fight for our democracy, and every voice is important. But we're going to drown you out, and we're going to drag you away so that we don't have to hear you. There's your real message. And that's who she really is. That's who she really is. Rodney says every voice is important as someone criticizes her is silenced. The irony. Exactly. Exactly, Rodney. And that story was saved. It's about, I can pull it up again here really quick and we can review it. Because, the podcast is still on there from Friday. It's a story from New Zealand that I thought was interesting. Dragon says, too late. She showed her true self when she mocked the Christian boys. Hypocrite. Exactly. Puck says, how come black churches get away with violating 501c3 status? That is a great question, Puck, and I often wonder that, especially when you talk about Ebenezer Baptist, which of course was Martin Luther King's original church. They don't do anything but politics in that church. If you ever go there, you'll see that Bible does not get cracked open. They might say a phrase out of it here and there, but everything is Democrat Party this and Democrat Party that. And I don't know how the hell they get away with any of that, because technically their 501c3 charity status should be revoked if they are pushing politics. And all people want you to know that Kamala is Hindu and not a Baptist. And she's so stupid she thinks all blacks in the U.S. are Baptist. Yeah, pretty much. But that is the greatest lesson right there to teach anybody who's paying attention, because I know, again, most people are not that smart, but anybody who is paying attention. She tells you this is why we're fighting for our democracy. She tells you every voice is important, while the music drowns those voices out and people are escorted from the building by security for trying to be heard. That person was outraged by whatever she was saying, probably again as a result of what happened a few days earlier, where she mocked a Christian in the audience, told them they were at the wrong rally and they needed to go to the smaller rally around the corner. That showed her true colors. She's not a so-called Christian. She's not religious. Helter says, if every voice is important, why does the regime continue to censor conservative speech? Exactly. That is the epitome right there of hypocrisy. The epitome of hypocrisy. Puck thought most black people were Jehovah's Witnesses. Out here, they all Spanish. I've seen a bunch of them. When my wife was stationed in Italy in the army, they used to come around there, Italian ones. She's like, and then she thought the same thing. She was like, I thought all Jehovah's Witnesses were black. But, and again, like I said, out here, they seem to be a lot of them Spanish. Oh my goodness. What are you going to do? And Brian says, of course, she is not Christian. She is a, prostitute, a woman of the evening. She had to turn on the red light. Roxanne had to turn on the red light. Roxanne, you don't have to turn on that red light. Sting told you. Sting tried to get you to understand. Monkey says it's more of democracy trademark using the TM symbol got YouTube mad. I'll pull this up real quick for Rodney, and we'll just run it over from Friday's story. And this is from Reason Magazine. New Zealand government punishes gun owners for political beliefs. And so what's happening, this is going on, it's people that are in the Sovereign Citizens Party, essentially. They're being identified by the New Zealand government, and they're being targeted. So they've, and it says here in the article that the police have identified nationally 1,400 people from the Sovereign Citizen Ideology Party, and 158 of those 1,400 are firearms license holders. And of those 158 so far, they have revoked the license from and confiscated the firearms from, I believe, if I can find it in here, 62 of those people. I'm looking for it. If I could find the right number. I believe that so far, yeah, here it is. The New Zealand government confiscated the firearms licenses and the guns from 62 of these people because of political ideology. And that's just freaking scary. That's just freaking scary. All People says MLK was a fraud. Real name was Michael. He was a Lutheran, not Baptist, and most of his congregation was Methodist, but pretended to be Baptist to get a free building. And there you go. But yeah, we covered that story in more detail on Friday. Like I said, Rodney, that's still up from Friday. But I just, again, that's a scary position to be in. You're in this party, this sovereign citizen party, or you consider yourself a sovereign citizen or whatever, and they're in the process of rounding these people up, revoking their gun licenses, and confiscating their weapons. And Puck says New Zealand is the new fatherland. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. But I, brought that up just to reiterate from Friday. And that's a scary position to be in. And unfortunately, New Zealand, being an island, is very isolated, and the government's been getting away with a lot of that kind of stuff. And this is just the next step in that, unfortunately. The next step in that. Right, Monkey, you're back. Are you okay, buddy? Don't pull on any more cables, all right? I don't need another repeat of earlier. As we get ready to pull up the next article, and the next article is going to be from USA Today, and it's more on voting. As a federal judge prevents the state from removing people who are not properly registered. So, federal judge blocks Virginia voter roll purge of suspected non-citizens. So, Virginia has what they consider to be non-citizens on the voting roll, and they are trying to remove them, and they're being blocked by a federal judge. So a federal judge in Virginia stopped the state on Friday from removing suspected non-citizens from their voter rolls and ordered the restoration of the ones who were removed because of how close it is to the November 5th election. That's exactly why you need to get them off. U.S. District Judge Patricia Giles ruled an executive order from Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, signed August 7th, violated a federal law that prohibits removing names from voter rolls within 90 days of an election. Voters who were removed since that date must be notified and have their resignation restored, Giles ruled. So Giles has Patricia here. She has overridden an executive order from the governor of the state of Virginia to remove non-citizens from their voting rolls. And I bet you this 90-day rule would apply to people who are properly vetted. This makes no sense. Quote, the ruling is a big victory, according to Ryan Snow, a lawyer with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, which represented advocacy groups in the lawsuit, which was combined with a similar suit brought by the Justice Department. The judge stopped the outrageous mass purge of eligible voters in Virginia. No, if they are not citizens, they are not eligible voters, and that's the problem. And now this civil rights group, the Justice Department, and this judge are circumventing that ruling and allowing for non-citizens to get back on if they were removed. Quote, it should never be illegal to remove an illegal voter, Miyares said in a statement, yet today a court urged by the Biden-Harris Department of Justice, ordered Virginia to put the names of non-citizens back on the voter rolls days before a presidential election. That is scary. But we're supposed to trust this system. Puck says, did you hear about the other Georgia election results? Big defeat for U.S. and EU. No, I haven't heard anything about Georgia specifically. And Kimberly has joined us. Dragon says if they are not American citizens, then they should not vote, period. Exactly. And that's what the governor was trying to do. And he was overruled. He was overruled by the judge. And now they're going to, all those people that they removed, they're going to have to put back on. And that's a shambles. That is a complete travesty of the voting system. I already don't trust the voting system as it is. Stuff like this makes it worse. Stuff like this makes it a lot worse. Helter says that judge works for Biden Harris. I bet you. I bet you. There's influence there somewhere. She was influenced by the Justice Department. She was influenced by the Justice Department. She's putting a notch in her belt. She thinks, like many people in those positions, that she's going to be on the right side of history. And she wants to ensure that she keeps her job. She wants to ensure she keeps her job. It's incredible. Nature Nerd says just in time for the Democrats to win Virginia, to put illegal immigrants on voting rolls. Really dirty. Really dirty. It is. And there's so much going on with all of this, and it can't be trusted. It can't be trusted. Well, if Trump wins, you won't have to worry about too much of that because they really will get rid of a lot of them. All People Says is a book called Don't Believe the Hype by a woman named Farai Shadia that explains how the media has spread lies about the blacks in the U.S. for decades. It's a must read. A must read. And is that, Puck wants us to fill the Marianas Trench with all the lawyers. It's deep enough. It's deep enough. We're going to jump to Florida. And this is going to be a Fox News article. And this happened over the weekend. You should find this interesting. Florida deputies arrest dozens of illegal immigrants allegedly caught looting from Hurricane Milton victims. Why is anybody surprised? More than 100 people, including at least 41 illegal immigrants, have been arrested in Florida for allegedly looting and scamming victims of hurricanes Helene and Milton, local law enforcement officials have said. Looting patrols in Pinellas County over the last 3 weeks rounded up 45 suspects on 68 charges that included armed robbery, burglary, loitering, prowling, grand theft, vandalism, and trespassing, according to Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gudalieri, if I pronounce that right. Quote, they're going into people's homes, they're taking stuff, they're rummaging through their things. Another 58 suspects were arrested in an operation allegedly targeting unlicensed contractors. Gudalieri said their scams mostly involved billing victims a total of $250 million for repairs they never intended to do. Quote again, this is the epitome of people trying to exploit others when they're down and when they're out, and they're trying to rebuild, and they've got nothing. Of the 45 suspects arrested by anti-looting patrols across the Pinellas County barrier islands, at least 41 of those suspects are illegal immigrants. Gudalieri said in a press conference Thursday. He said nearly all of the suspects were from South America or Central America. Suspects arrested in the contracting scams typically offered to do projects including plumbing, roofing, and electrical work, charging a total of more than $250 million. They said that the one suspect even had business cards impersonating a legitimate contracting company. Quote again, people offering to do work on the property, but in some cases have no intention of doing the work. In other cases, are unqualified to do the work, and in all of the cases are unlicensed to do any work. That sounds like Irish travelers. If you're familiar with Irish travelers in the United States, famous for doing that kind of thing. The sheriff added his office had contact with another 196 individuals in beach neighborhoods where they did not belong, but they did not have probable cause to arrest them at that time. Of those 196 individuals, 163 of them were illegal immigrants. There you go. There you go. Cruising says, I'm more surprised the looters weren't bodied. The sheriffs down here are very pro bag and tag for looters and thieves. Puck says, did you see former ICE Director Hoffman interview? He was asked if you could deport without separating families. Answer, yes, deport them together. Cruising says, it's funny, when I was in Peru, we were cautioned about Venezuelans the way you get cautioned about bad neighborhoods here in the States. And All People wants to know why Youngkin and the Virginia Republicans did not take steps earlier. Are they covert rhinos? Who knows? Who knows what kind of red tape or hoops they had to jump through to get that started in the first place, only just to get knocked down a peg now, knocked down a whole rung, as they have to start all over again. All over again. Now, here's an interesting story. And this is something that is taking place in Europe. Okay. And I really suspect, when I first saw the story, my foil hat went on, because I think they could be staged events. And I'll tell you the reason for that in a moment after I read the story, why I think it's a staged event to try to convince people to go cashless. Okay? I'll throw that up from All People. CNN article, criminals are looting millions from ATM machines in Europe, and Germany is a prime target. In the early hours of Thursday, March 23rd, residents in the German town of Kronberg were woken up from their sleep by several explosions. Criminals had blown up an ATM located below a block of flats in the town center. The attack caused severe damage to the building and forced the evacuation of its inhabitants, according to local media reports. Witnesses saw people dressed in dark clothing fleeing in a black car towards a nearby highway. During the heist, thieves stole 130,000 euros in cash. They also caused an estimated €500,000 worth of collateral damage, according to reports by Germany's Federal Crime Police Office. Rather than staging dramatic and risky bank robberies, criminal groups in Europe have been targeting ATMs as an easier and more low-key target. Okay? In Germany, Europe's largest economy, thieves have been blowing up ATMs at a rate of more than one per day in recent years. In a country where cash is still a prevalent payment method, there it is, the thefts can prove incredibly lucrative, with criminals pocketing hundreds of thousands of euros in a single attack. Europol has been cracking down on the robberies, carrying out large cross-border operations aimed at taking down the highly organized crime gangs behind them. Okay, so what they're suggesting is that all across Europe, and especially in Germany, ATM machines, at least one per day, are blown up and hundreds of thousands of euros are stolen. Okay, and they make it a point to emphasize cash, quote, is still a prevalent payment method. Right there, I highlight it. And there's Jane, says, missed you all, had to go to Port Wentworth, Georgia for 2 weeks. It's booming there, so many new factories and homes built. Thank you for the news. And that's 10 miles outside of Savannah. I think this is staged. I don't think there are criminal gangs running around Europe blowing up ATM machines and stealing millions upon millions of euros in cash. You want to know why? Let me open this up for you. Okay? Let me open up this article for you. And this is a security article from the ATM manufacturer. Okay? Talking about how difficult it is to break into one of these machines. All right. And they have silent alarms, tracking devices, closed circuit security. This is all inside the machine, as well as dyeing the money if the money is stolen. So if somebody starts breaking into one of those things, the money gets sprayed with a dye. It's worthless. Criminal gangs are not going to continue for a period of the last couple of years to break into ATM machines if the ATM machine is going to signal an alarm, take their picture, and spray the money with cash, making it worthless, or spray the money with paint, making it worthless. After the first time you broke into a machine and got the cash out, if you could, it's extremely difficult to open these things. They literally tell you in this article, if you blow it up, beat it with a sledgehammer, whatever you do to it, you're probably not going to be able to open it. But they said they're blowing them up. Okay, they're putting explosives on these things and blowing them up and accessing the cash box somehow. It's still going to spray the cash. The first time you went through all that and you got worthless money that can't be spent anywhere because it's covered with dye, you're not going to do it again, are you? Will you do it again? You're going to waste all that time. Oh, well, let's keep breaking into them every day for the next few years and see if we have any luck. And Lisa has joined us. Glad you could make it. And Jane says good points on reason why not to break in. It's exactly. I don't believe. Here it is. Dyed. It says the money inside the ATM will be dyed the same way bank money is dyed to deter bank robbers. Because, even if you steal cash off a Brinks truck and they're all sealed in those Kevlar bags, if you don't have the right coating to open that bag, when you open it, it'll spray the cash with dye and the money will be worthless. No one's going to buy money that has been completely saturated with paint. It's right there highlighted. This is the company that makes those ATMs. You see ATM FAQ. Puck says, I didn't know explosives were so readily available in police states like Germany. No kidding. No kidding. I think this is a ploy to try to finagle not just Germany, but all of Europe to delve more into a cashless society. I bet you it's some kind of clandestine operation. There's no way. There's no way. It's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth the effort it would take to try to bust one of those machines open. You couldn't do it. You couldn't, even those like crappy ones that they wheel out for events. You couldn't sledge one open. You wouldn't be able to get the damn thing open. Plus, they have tracking devices, so if they took the machine, it could be followed. That technology has changed a lot from the early days of ATMs back in the mid '80s, when they first started coming on the scene, back when people didn't know how the hell they worked. All People says, I agree, the ATM attacks are staged, part of a globalist government psychological operation, most likely led by the military. Well, they're getting explosives from somewhere. It doesn't tell you what kind of explosives, but like I said, silent alarms, almost impossible to break into. The brute strength used, it says the days of brute strength being used to break into ATMs are all but over. Thieves can still cause damage to the machine, but it's far more difficult to actually gain access to the vault or cabinet. You don't just spend a couple of hours sledging it open anymore, is what they're saying. It's practically impossible to bust into it. Explosives are not. Plus, I mean, if you were to blow it up, think about this. An explosive, even a shaped, you'd have to use a shaped charge. Okay, So now we're beyond just your average criminal. You'd have to use a shaped directed charge to shatter the lock, which would destroy the money anyways. Because now you're projecting an explosive. It would destroy the money, even if it wasn't sprayed. Lisa says, I agree, cashless society is what they're trying to implement. Jane says, interesting data. Thank you for making me think a bit more. Missed the news last week. Well, we're glad you're back. And Undercover is here, says, didn't get the notification. Unfortunately, that does not surprise me. It does not surprise me. I really, again, that's my foil hat moment. I really think it's staged. I don't think this is, one ATM every day for like the last couple of years, hundreds of millions in euros stolen because it's still a predominantly cash society. My ass. There's no way. Your average criminal isn't getting shaped charges. You know who has shaped charges? The military, the government. Police don't even have that. Cruising says, I wonder if a couple didn't steal outdated ATM and then a bunch started trying to copycat on behest of the anti-cash groups. Who knows? And Nature Nerd says, in the summer of 2020, I was looters flipping over ATMs and breaking it open. Yes, using shaped charges is a skill unto itself, as is fabricating them. Incredible. But that's my foil hat moment. I think that's really suspect to me. That's really suspect. That's one of those things, those stories where I read it and I'm like, I don't know about that. I do not know about that. Oh, Jane, I got the TNVRs done. 11 out of 12. And I'm going to be putting up a separate video talking about that here and on the Cat channel. So that I had to deal with it myself. I had to deal with it myself. The opportunity came up and I got a call and it's like, hey, can we come today? And I'm like, okay. But so I didn't get a chance to put up a GoFundMe or anything. Rodney says, we have unelected officials here pushing hard for cashless society, same people that engineered the rifle confiscation. I am not surprised. And Kimberly thinks that's very suspect. That's very suspect. As we jump around here, we're going to jump to Louisiana. This I thought was interesting. We'll come back to the United States really quick. I mean, we could go on for a whole hour just about those ATM machines. But like I said, there's the ATM machine company right there telling you, you're not breaking into these machines. And if you did, the cash would be worthless. Cash would be worthless. CNN article, Louisiana. Louisiana governor forces removal of New Orleans homeless encampment ahead of Taylor Swift's concert this weekend. So, yeah, we're going to ignore the homeless people, and we're going to ignore what their presence does to the community all the way up until Taylor Swift comes to town. Homeless camps around New Orleans Superdome have been moved at the order of Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry before the sold-out Taylor Swift concerts this weekend at the Super Bowl next year. Quote, let me be clear, we want our streets cleared. Oh, that's bad syntax. You said a form of the word clear twice in a sentence. Landry told CNN in a statement Friday, I can't help myself, I'm sorry. At the current time, it makes sense to consolidate the encampments into a place where we can find them shelter and get them off the street. We didn't give a shit the last few years they've been hanging out there, but hey, Taylor Swift is coming. Got to make room for them Swifties. About 75 people were living in tents beneath an overpass. The Louisiana State Police told the Associated Press they were moved about 2 blocks away on Wednesday, state police said. Quote, as we prepare for the city to host Taylor Swift and Super Bowl, what is that, 59? We are committed to ensuring New Orleans puts its best foot forward when out on the world stage. Translation: we don't give a shit any other time, but Taylor Swift is coming, Super Bowl's coming. We don't want people filming and seeing homeless people, so we'll just shuffle them down the street real quick. A group of demonstrators gathered outside the Caesars Superdome on Saturday ahead of Swift's second show in the city to protest the removal of the homeless encampment. The protesters chanted, "Homeless lives matter. No to sweeps, yes to housing." And Swifty, hey, get out from under there. Hold on a minute. I don't need you doing that to me again. You already unplugged the camera once today. Get out of the way. Technical difficulties, folks. What was the last whining? Here it is. Swifty is shifty on homeless along with Governor Landry. These people. But Brian can't stand Taylor Swift. Jane says they are a Swiftie. Rodney says, I view the homeless problem as a result of malicious incompetence at the state level. And Monkey says, this gives off the vibe that someone is coming over and my place is a shithole. Let me clean it up real quick. Yeah, sweep that dust under the rug because Taylor Swift is coming to town. Coming to town. So they gathered up the encampment and they moved it to where it can't be seen. To where it can't be seen. Nature Nerd says, wonder if the criminals in 2020 got their money sprayed when they broke into the ATM machines. There's a good chance of that. There's a good chance because I'm sure they've been spraying the money in those machines for a few years. And Baki says, as one famous documentary said, if all money is on chips, if the system says you rebel, they can just turn off your chip. Yeah, no kidding. And Rodney made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Rodney. Always helps, especially now after what I had to deal with this weekend. And my poor, come here, monkey. My poor monkey, they chopped his ear. And I asked them not to do that with the kittens, but they still tipped everybody. Isn't that right, buddy? Are you okay now? Are you okay? You still smell like newspapers. I need all the help I can get. All the help I can get. But I got 11 out of 12 of them. I did it. I had to catch them all. They couldn't do it or wouldn't do it or whatever. But interestingly enough, and like I said, I'm going to do a different video. I'm going to do a separate video talking about that. Told me that was the fastest roundup that they've ever experienced in 20 years of doing TNRs. Because I got 11 of them in half an hour. And they were like, no, it takes some days, sometimes weeks to get that many. I'm like, no, hold on, I'll go get them. And almost all of them I was able to just pick up and put in a cage. And they cooperated. And this one didn't. This one did not, but I got him in there. But they butchered his ear, and I hate that. I hate that they do that. And it looks like it tore. See, it looks like some of the skin tore. Poor baby. It's okay. We'll stop. We'll get back on track. But anyways, again, thank you, Rodney. Very much appreciated, of course. Very much appreciated, of course. As we continue to move around, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. They want to clean it up. They want to try to get ahead of it and hide the situation, bury the situation. That's like, I remember one time there was some housing area. God, where was it? It was somewhere on the East Coast. This is way back in the 80s, and some politician was going to come and visit, and they went to abandoned buildings and nailed up fake cardboard windows over all the broken windows on the buildings to make it look lived in. And some of the lengths that they go to, to disguise problems rather than fix them or solve them. Monkey says, like what Governor Newsom did when Zai visited San Francisco. Correct, because they shifted everybody around then, and he's ignored it for years, and it's right back where it started anyways. right back where it started anyways. And there you are. And where are we? Let me see. Louisiana, looting. Aha, scammers in the IRS. IRS got scammed, and you're going to pay for it. IRS got scammed, and you're going to pay for it, ladies and gentlemen. Market Watch article. Watch out, kitty cat. Here, I'll put you back down. Just stay off my cables. Says scammers called the IRS and stole $47 million in refunds, according to a watchdog. It was more than that, but they were able to recover most of it. Jane says, "Why hurt the cat's ear? I am upset." Jane, and they typically do it because they're accustomed to working with strays, and if they tip the ear, so if someone else calls about a stray or they see a stray and there's a piece missing from the ear, they'll just ignore it. They'll leave it alone rather than trying to round it up again because it's already been spayed or neutered and vaccinated. So it's like a call sign. But I asked them not to do that, at least with the kittens, because, you know, they'll look more intact if I'm able to get any of them adopted. But they did it anyway. And it's not the first time I've run into that because I asked them not to tip Hobo either. And his is so bad, it looks like somebody bit it off with their teeth. Kitty, honestly, I'm trying to read the article. So here we are, IRS. It says phony tax professionals made a real score when they called the Internal Revenue Service phone lines accessing sensitive taxpayer information, filed fraudulent tax returns, and walked away with tens of millions in refunds. The scammers filed 4,800 tax returns, claiming $462 million in bogus refunds in a scheme that stretched all the way back to August of 2023, according to the report from the Treasury and the Inspector General. IRS, however, was able to slam the brakes on some of the payments for most of those returns, according to the report. Monkey, hold still. But the tax man wasn't able to stop a total of 574 of those returns from going through, and the price was an estimated loss of more than $47 million. So basically, they were able to recall 90% of those fraudulent refunds, but 547 of them, or 574 of them, still got processed for a total of $47 million. And again, that's your tax dollars, because where's that money going to come from? That's your tax money going to scammers because of their negligence. Monkey, good Lord. He is really clingy since he got back. Kimberly says Gypsy Rose wanted to go, but got caught trying to take money, $12,000 out of her and soon to be ex's joint account. As I catch up some of the comments here, I know I'm behind. Good Lord. And Lisa says you would think they would come up with a more unique slogan than Homeless Lives Matter, talking about the previous story there. I can't even see the screen anymore. I give up. Monkey wins. It's Monkey's show. And Tuck says, it's hard enough to get perfect cats adopted. I know. Rodney says the ear tipping doesn't seem to make sense, as a cat can lose a chunk of an ear in a fight. That is true. Kimberly says seems like all of those new ITS employees they hired aren't worth a crap. Well, those people that they hired, their real job is to stick it to us harder, not to protect their databases. Unfortunately, the bottom line is they want to stick it to us harder. Those people were hired to make sure we pay. make sure that we pay. Kitty, are you sitting on? Come on now, move. Now, this is another interesting one. I'm going to show you a series of photographs real quick here because the claim is, honey, look out, will you please? The claim is that this is the photo. This has been circulating on social media if you've seen it. This is the photo they're saying proves Harris worked at McDonald's. This is circulating on TikTok, on X, on Facebook. Okay? That's the picture that's circulating. Oh, look, it's proof. It's proof that Harris worked for McDonald's. Now, unfortunately, in the modern age, for those of you who can see, because I know some people can't see, it's an 80s photograph of a young girl, looks like Harris, standing in front of a curio cabinet in a McDonald's uniform, right? Vintage McDonald's uniform. Now, yeah, Tuck says, lovely deep fake. It is, and I can prove it, and I'm about to. We live in an age where if you do a photo scan search, you can track down a photograph if you have the right software. Why don't we do that real quick here? And there you are. There's the original photograph. That is clearly not Harris. That is a young Caucasian girl. Monkey says, ooh, that photo. Yeah, that's easily the most obviously edited image ever. And I'm going to put a side-by-side comparison for those of you who can see. Okay. Baki says the kitten only feels safe with you now. I guess so. He is all over me. I can't move. Rodney says disgusting Democrats would use the picture of a woman who died young of cancer to slap Kamala's face on. That is correct. Because this, I cannot remember her name, but my understanding is that this girl died of leukemia. Now there's the side-by-side comparison. Okay. Now the photo on the right is obviously the legitimate photo because it's complete. The one with Harris's face has been heavily cropped. It's been heavily cropped. They cut her legs off. They cut off the side with the chair. Eric says, and to top it off, it's Harris with white face. Yeah. Monkey says, from what they've seen with the original image, the person is deceased. I believe that is correct. Nature Nerd says, in the summer of 2020, someone threw a busted up cash register on the side of the road on my street. I called the police and they were able to tell me what store and city. But that's the photo that's been circulating next to the original photo for anyone keeping track. And I don't know who first circulated that photo, but that's just a shame. That's just a shame. Because again, there is no proof she ever worked for McDonald's. And it had never even been mentioned, as far as I understand, until she was running for, or announced running for president back in 2019 originally, before she was asked to step down. There's no witnesses. There's no one who's ever come forward and said that she worked there. McDonald's can't confirm it. Her sister was asked about it. No comment. Doesn't want to talk about it. Kimberly says they'll stop at nothing. How sick do you have to be to use a dead girl's photo for your political agenda? They probably figured no one would ever find the other picture. But like I said, if you've got the right software, you can scan a picture and search for similar photographs to help determine if it was doctored or altered. And Monkey said they are desperate to try to gotcha Trump saying she first worked at McDonald's. Exactly. But I just wanted to put that up for people to see if anyone has seen that photo circulating and they weren't sure. The original one is on the right. Again, I do not know the girl's name, but it's my understanding that she is deceased. It's very unfortunate. The whole thing is unfortunate. As we get ready to go ahead and start wrapping things up, Monkey left the room. Monkey left the room. So that's okay. He was wearing me out. He was wearing me out today. And again, I will be putting up a separate video talking about the cats that I got TNR'd over this weekend. They're already bringing them back to me. I got several of them back today. Of course, they hold on to the females a little longer because it's more invasive to fix a female than a male. So there we are. Special thanks to Rodney for making a donation to the channel today. Very much appreciated. Very helpful, especially right now. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us here today. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk. And you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and on Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. Hope everybody got something out of the conversation. And we will